The Nigerian Customs Service says that it has intercepted about 12,435 liters of petrol smuggled into neighboring Cameroon. The Customs Area Controller in charge of Adamawa and Taraba Area Command made this known to newsmen in Yola, saying the intercepted petrol cost about 10.8 million naira. Our correspondent Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
The recent operation saw 491 jerrycans containing 25 liters each and another 8 jerrycans containing 20 liters each of petrol intercepted from smugglers. The Adamawa and Taraba State Command says that the operation was done in compliance with the recent state of emergency declared on illegal smuggling of petroleum products, and also to tame the activities of terrorists who operate in the area.
What it means that nobody, even one drop, you are not allowed to take outside this country. You understand? So that is what it means, going outside this country. Because some of these bandits or terrorists, you understand, they operate along the mountainous region that cut across Nigeria into Cameroon. And they don't walk by foot. They are on bike and they use this petrol, PMS. So when they don't have access, it helps in fighting insurgency and security issues.
The area controller, while reeling out details of the operation, said officers on anti-smuggling operations within their area of jurisdiction recorded 5 incidents of smuggling.
The command officers were on anti-smuggling operations along the command frontiers within the period of 2 weeks under my leadership had recorded 5 incidents of interception of premium motor spirits on its way to the neighboring country, Cameroon Republic. The intercepted and seized PMS plus the means of conveyance are valued at 10,871,496 naira, 25 kobo, as the duty paid value. However, during the operation, no suspect was apprehended as they abandoned the items and absconded in an attempt to circumvent arrest.
He says that the seizures of the items are in line with sections 150 and 248 of the Nigerian Customs Service Act and solicited the support of the border communities in the fight against smuggling. In Abuja for News Central, I'm Emmanuel Bagudu.
That's the update we have regarding the petrol. We hope that there'd be not much, we'll have systems and structures that will not make it easy for people to illegally smuggle our petrol out of Nigeria. But we'll be moving away from that conversation to talk about the telecommunications industry. The Association of Telecommunications Companies of Nigeria has expressed concerns over possible connectivity disruptions as construction advances on the 700-kilometer Lagos-Calabar coastal highway. The Lagos-Calabar coastal highway corridor serves as a crucial landing point for multiple submarine cables connecting Nigeria to Europe. The chairman Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, ALTON, Benga Adebayo, said the Ministry of Works, headed by David Umahi, had engaged some stakeholders but excluded the telecom operators. Joining us this morning to discuss this and more is the chairman of the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria, ALTON, Benga Adebayo. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Me. Good morning.
Good morning. We'd like you to give us a clear picture as to, or an update as to the talks that the Ministry of Works, or the Minister of Works, David Umahi, and ALTON have had so far.
We haven't had any conversation with the ministry. We read in the papers, we saw on television the work that is going on there. Then it occurred to us that that's actually the corridor that brings in a lot of the submarine landing cable into the country. And we expressed concern via mediums like this to the ministry and to the public that caution needs to be exercised in doing that work in order to protect the infrastructure within the right-of-way. The irony is that a number of the right-of-ways were granted by the Federal Ministry of Works. So the question then is, what happens to stakeholder consultation on highways where you have had right-of-way granted? Along the same perimeter, there is also the right-of-way of the National Inland Waterways, NIWA. In some of those instances, along some of the segments, approval was also granted for laying of those structures by NIWA. So we then asked the question whether it's within the jurisdiction of NIWA or Federal Ministry of Works. But the party doing the project now is the Ministry of Works, and it behoves on them to at least consult with stakeholders in order to avoid any possible disruption. Not just telecoms. You may also have gas lines passing there. You may also have petroleum lines passing through the same right of way. It's said to be almost a 700-kilometer highway, so you can imagine how many clusters this will cut through.
All right, as a follow-up, I think I want to ask, like, have you reached out to them, or are you hoping that by medium of conversations like this and interviews like this, you will then get the attention of the minister? I'm
aware that a few of our members had written. Our concern, as expressed last week, is as a group, which comprise most of the network operators and the infrastructure providers, we have not been consulted. And it speaks to a bigger issue, to the extent that we continue to talk about vandalization of infrastructure and issues of willful damage. In a number of cases, when you have fiber cuts across the country, it's actually done by contractors of government. We had some disruption about 4 months ago where half of the country was cut off. That was an account of activity of a contractor working for federal government. And there is no recourse for service providers whatsoever. So in this case, the impact will be severe if it's allowed that the landing cables that are coming from Europe is impacted by local works, which is just avoidable. We are saying that we think that more consultation needs to be done.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably bringing back the conversation on the environmental impact assessment, document, and some of all these things that were, asked of the Minister of Works, just to show that they had done a proper assessment of where these things are going to pass. So you can speak a little bit more about that, and then, paint a clearer picture of what we mean by telecoms infrastructure. And what parts of the roads are they mostly found? Are they mostly underground? How are we very, very certain that building a road, is going to interrupt, this infrastructure?
Underground cables are laid on the verges of the highway. It cuts across major highways across the country. And normally, a number of them fall either within the federal right of way or the state right of way, where the roads are owned and built and owned by the federal government. Normally, you approach the Federal Ministry of Works for approval for laying the infrastructure. If it's within the jurisdiction of the states, normally we apply to the State Ministry of Works or the planning authorities in the state to apply for the right of way. If it's on the verges of the waterways, I think about 400 meters or 500 meters from the waterways, normally it falls within the jurisdiction of the National Inland Waterways. But those are the custodians of the right of way on those axes, as the case may be. So those things are laying on the underground. Normally requires some, if you are not aware they exist, you may require some echo survey to be able to know what is underground. But because in this case, right of ways are granted by authorities that are known, it's either the Federal Ministry of Works or in this coastal way, the National Inland Waterways. Or in the worst case, we say the State Ministry of Works. Yes. So if there's that synergy between the agencies, it shouldn't be a problem on who granted the right of way. Number two is that there are route markers, identifying the route of the cables. So someone there who is careful enough should actually identify that there are some infrastructure along that axis. Now, why is this important? This is actually the international landing cables into Nigeria. That's why that axis is quite important for us. You recall that I think about 6 weeks ago, there was some undersea cable cut somewhere around the coast of Abidjan. You know what happened? You saw what happened to Africa. So we don't want a repeat of that event happening in Nigeria. That's why we're saying that we think that consultation should have been done so that parties can agree, can identify the critical infrastructure, and can agree on how best to work around it without impacting on the infrastructure. Certainly, we're not against government building highway. It is the prerogative of government to do. But we are mindful that if things are not properly done, it will have impact on our infrastructure and by extension, the services that we provide. That's why we are saying that we expect that there should have been some consultation before now.
Yeah, okay, well, so the consultation basically, is that, ALTON then helps guide the government through the process.
Our members of ALTON, who are the owners of the infrastructure. Yes. We work along with experts from the Ministry of Works to protect the infrastructure while the work is ongoing. Yeah. We had, during the construction of Lagos-Calabar Expressway, we had lots of cases of fiber cuts, which was done by government contractors. It also took time before they consulted with the operators. And until a red flag was raised, nobody took us serious. And you see, it speaks to the issue of critical national infrastructure. We have been talking about classifying telecommunications as critical national security and economic infrastructure. And I think this also again underscores the fact that they need to be careful. If this was petroleum line, you would not have to talk to anybody. Because they will know that anything impacting on that infrastructure, tampering with that infrastructure, can lead to significant problem, even for their own workers. So in this case, because it's telecom, it's owned by private people, looks like nobody cares actually. Yeah.
My colleague had asked, what the infrastructure you were referring to here looked like. So are they cables? Do we know for sure what particular ones will be affected by the current construction?
They are underground cables. They are telecom cables. And the roads are clearly marked by those who have laid them. Again, we haven't had an incident. We've not had an occurrence. So our conversation is preemptive. Right. We're hoping that before anything is done on this axis, we will be consulted.
So do we have clear recommendations yet, or these recommendations will come after a sitting, with the Ministry of Works or with the minister?
There are protocols for doing this kind of things. They have experts on road build, they have experts on road furniture, and they know how these things work. We are only saying we expect that because of the criticality of that axis, where you have landing of a lot of the international submarine, caution has to be exercised.
Okay. Well, hopefully, you get a response. And I'm guessing that's what all these conversations are prompting. You get a response from the ministry, and if you don't, then of course further steps will have to be taken to protect this infrastructure. There's also been conversations concerning price reviews by the telcos, which of course you've recently gotten yourself involved with. So let's get into that now. What is the deepest concerns that you have?
We're talking about the sustainability of the telecom sector. But issue of price is quite emotive. And particularly in today's economy, when they talk about price review, everybody picks it up like that. So our conversation was around the sustainability of the industry. We have said in our statement to government that people are no longer investing in the sector because of a number of factors. One is the operating environment. Second is high cost of doing business. Third is multiple taxation. Fifth is this vandalization that we're talking about. Another one is security of those who do the work. So it's stifling the growth of the sector. And so in our conversation with government, we have said there's a need to pay some attention to telecom sector in order to avoid the collapse of the sector, because it's a technology sector. People have to invest and continue to reinvest for us to be up to date. This issue of fiber damage cost that we're talking about, it cost several billions of naira last year to rebuild infrastructure. We can't just continue like that. And among the variables that we've mentioned to government in terms of ensuring the sustainability of the industry is the issue of cost-related tariff. We're saying that the cost of providing the services today has gone astronomically high, and it's no longer a reflection of the cost input. So the tariff is not reflecting the cost. Yeah. And if you price below cost, at the end of the day, you've got a business. If it costs you 1,000 naira to produce a loaf of bread, it will be unfair for someone to insist that has to be sold at 600 naira because it has cost you 1,000 to produce. So we look at our variables, cost input. Fuel is one. Energy cost is significantly high. A lot of the sites are running on diesel. Some running on alternative energy. But the fact remains that if last year a liter of diesel was sold at 600, for example, and today is at 1,200, you can see the significant movement. Foreign exchange, early last year was about 600, 700. Today is at 1,200. So you can also see the value. And people had asked this question, why are you talking about forex in communication? Because this is local service. But our systems and equipment are denominated in foreign exchange. Our international traffic exchange is denominated in foreign exchange. A lot of the investment came in foreign exchange. So you have a lot of recurring forex obligations that demands that you need to pay your obligations in forex rather than paying in, some also paying in naira. So a combination of all of these factors brought about the conversation around having to, among other things, look at the sustainability of the industry and as well as cost-related tariff. But unfortunately, the issue of tariff picked the headlines. And that's why we are where we are. But the fact remains that for the industry to be sustainable, a lot of things has to be done. And the issue of price review is one of the things that has to be done.
Would you say that for example, we know that there's a removal of right-of-way costs, but you've also talked about how you still pay over 45 charges and levies. So would you say that maybe there needs to be some amendments to the amount of levies and taxes or charges that telco has to pay? Or does the current reality mean that without a shadow of doubt, a price increment is the only way out to achieve this sustainability?
No, I must say very clearly that price review will not solve the problem. Because even if you throw money at, even if you charge people more, and you don't deal with the problems in the ecosystem, we are still going to be back on this conversation in a matter of days. Now, let me take this issue of rights of way and charges. There are two separate issues. Rights of way is a fee you pay to secure government approval to lay the infrastructure. Taxes and levies are different. It's a different conversation. Today, we are dealing with about between 45 and 50 different taxes or levies, depending on the state that you are approaching. A number of those are not telecom related, asking you to pay effluent discharge, community development levy, a generator approval levy, and all kinds of things that the state add up to say this is what you have to pay as a state, as an operator to the state, failing which they will disrupt services, and they are doing it. On the right of way, it's interesting because the state governors announced that they are going to give right of way free of charge. Commendable, appreciable. However, when they give you the bill for the right of way approval, right of way headline is zero. There are a number of other charges unrelated to the right of way which you have to pay before the approval is granted. In many cases, by the time you do a cumulative of all of those charges, it's more than the value of the right of way.
Like robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Well, maybe that is the right explanation, but the fact is that it's free but not free. And so we're saying that we need to look at the socio-economic benefit of the services that we provide, much more than the IGR benefit that the number of states are dependent on. Thankfully, a state like Lagos is very progressive. They don't do that in Lagos. Lagos built the metro-wide infrastructure that you can just see into, and stress-free actually. But a number of other states, these are the problems that we face. So issue of right of way is one, multiple taxation is another one, and then vandalization is a major problem. Now, in this conversation around energy or no energy, and people have said, why are we always talking about diesel for the south? Why don't we look at alternative energy? We are looking at alternative energy, and a number of the infrastructure providers are deploying alternative energy sources, but they keep getting vandalized from time to time. Because of the point of our public energy supply, a lot of homes and individuals now have inverters at home. They have inverters and batteries at home. Unfortunately, when telecom sites are vandalized, the batteries are stolen away, the solar components are stolen away, they end up in the open market and in people's homes. So there has been a large market, there is now a large market for stolen batteries, for stolen solar systems. And right. The batteries are being tracked, and we are saying to the people, you need to watch out where you put. So all of this added together impact on good quality of service, in fact on the sustainability of it, and they are saying that government has to address it holistically.
And it's very important that these conversations are had, because at the end of the day, it is the people of Nigeria that would have to face the impact, the negative impact if this isn't done. We hope that the Minister of Works invites you for a conversation soon, and that we'll see the next steps forward. Thank you very much, Benga Adebayo, the chairman of the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria.